Today's podcast is brought to you by United Refrigeration. After more than 70 years, United Refrigeration has become one of the largest distributors in refrigeration, air conditioning, and heating parts equipment in North America. There's over 400 locations in North America, including Canada. Fully stocked stores for immediate pickup, strategically placed distribution warehouses throughout the country for consistent deliveries and inventory replenishment. Brand name HVACR products by top-of-the-line manufacturers, including a complete base of HVACR products offering large and small, common and obscure, anything from ABB to Z-Flex. Let's talk about prompt, comprehensive, and technical services. United's branch employees are in-depth technical knowledge and expertise and valuable resources in providing total customer assistance. Want to get some personal development in? Go to www.uri.com, go to URI events, and there's an extensive list of every class that's going on at the branches near you. For more information, please go to www.uri.com. Once again, that's www.uri.com. Let's get this thing started.
I wanted to take a quick minute to talk about one of our sponsors that make this podcast possible, and that's Parker Sporlan and the Catch-All Filter Dryer. Do you know what can reduce system efficiencies and reliability within your refrigeration system? If you answered contamination, you are correct. Sporlan Catch-All Dryers have been around since 1947 and have been perfected over the years to capture water, acid, solids, debris, including sludges and varnishes. For best practices, change the catch-all filter dryer if any of the following occurs. Initial system install, when a system is open for service or repair, when excessive pressure drop of 5 psi across the filter dryer, when the see-all sight glass indicates water is present, when doing a T1-1 acid test kit says there's acid present, during a compressor burnout cleanup, and following a successful burnout cleanup. To find out more information by downloading Bulletin 40-10 from Sporlan.com with all the catch-all filter dryer information. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. You're here with your host, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass. I'm stuck.
I told you. That's why I got out of there when I did. I booked it out of there as soon as I could. Even though I was done working, I could have stayed another day and worked more, but maybe stop by again. But I was not chancing. I got the last seat, and then the flight after me, they canceled it. So
my
got
flight,
like 17 inches of snow. So
yeah, Texas has like a half-inch ice, maybe 1 inch, and every single flight. I actually slept at the airport last night in a little hostel type thing, and then after that, I was, because the flight was at 4:30 this morning, so it didn't make any sense to leave for a hotel and then come back, and that flight got canceled, and the next one, then all of them. So I'm stuck here until Friday.
yeah, it sounds miserable. I guess there's worse places to be stuck. So today I want to go over, we're going to do a quick podcast, guys. Been a long week, a lot going on. Brett looks like he's been up for 2 days straight.
Hey, everybody. I was supposed to be down here by myself, but someone just rolled in a couple minutes ago. Kev, what's going on?
How's it going, Brad?
Good, man. What brings you down here?
I actually got sent down here for work for 2 days, so put out a fire, and then I'm supposed to be out of here. So we got a free couple hours so before we can go back to the store. So stop by here and see how everything is.
Like typical, Kevin's been working like a madman. What'd you find out, man? What's been going on with the store?
Well, we just had a lot of contaminants in the system, and basically we had to. There was a lot of stuff not set to how it was supposed to be, so we had to end up going through and basically recommissioning the store in like 2 days.
Transcritical, or is it what kind of rack is it?
It's like a straight DX rack.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff not right with it, and I mean, there was we changed the condenser out, and it kind of led to everything getting stirred up in the system, and then it was contaminant city for a little while till they got everything all cleaned up. The store's been kind of neglected by the service contractor, so we're in there just trying to kind of clean everything up and make it work again. I mean, it's been struggling. A lot of stuff the way it's not supposed to be.
Now, where did the contamination come from?
I'm assuming it was from burn oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a retrofit rack. So I mean, it was retrofitted a couple years ago, but the cooling tower was absolutely shot. So it's been running high head for forever.
So it's just cooking the oil then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just cooking the oil. I mean, we ended up cleaning everything up, and it's starting to look better now. It's got a brand new cooling tower, so I mean that's running. But there was some programming issues with that and setup issues with that. So just trying to work through everything, and then we got to go back to work in a few hours. So.
I mean, it's awesome to have you here, man. You walked around for a little bit. What did you think?
Oh, it's huge, massive. I mean, this place is like just filled with everything you could imagine. Any part of this job is here.
You'd have to walk around for at least 3 days to actually go through each individual booth. I mean, there's so much stuff, anything from EMS manufacturers up to, HVAC, controls, plumbing, you name it. It's here,
Yeah, I mean, there's everything you could think of here. Every tool manufacturer, everything's here.
Well, hey, if you guys are down here, make sure that you show up. They're having a Play Cool Zone trivia game where basically you're answering questions and they're giving away some free stuff. Also enter to win the Zoom Lock Press. Enter the registration. There's also a link on our Facebook page that you could basically click on it, that you don't even have to be here for to register. We have a comment. Living vicariously through the AHR streams and live podcasts. I will try to get there next year. Keep up the good work. Thanks, guys. Yeah, man. Show up. I mean, it's a great place. It's a really good place to make a lot of contacts down here, man. I've been enjoying myself. I wish I had more time to go scope out a lot of stuff, but I've just been learning a lot just with talking with a lot of the manufacturers, and everyone's here willing to give you information. You could end up being in a booth for an hour and a half, just BSing about just random stuff. But what else? What have you seen that you really dug since you've been down here?
Oh, to be honest, I mean, I just kind of walked around for a little bit. I mean, I only had like an hour so far, so
yeah,
I haven't got too far into it. But there's been some like tool booths that some different stuff. It looks like it's pretty promising and stuff.
That field piece one is amazing. Did you go down there yet?
I went by the field piece booth, and then I'm still looking for the NAVAC booth.
Kevin's trying to get himself a new vacuum pump. Well, man, I just want to keep this one short. I appreciate you guys listening. And like I said, I just wanted to show our special guest that ended up being able to show up and hang out for a little bit. And, man, until next time, guys. Hello, everybody. Live from Ahr Expo in wonderful, wonderful Vegas. We're streaming live from the Sporlan booth. You guys want to come down and visit? It's C2518. Right now, we're going to do a live stream with Matt Wood from Sporlan. Matt, how you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the S3c Controller. Not a lot of technicians are really familiar with it. You want to go into some of the things that it's able to do and what's the full capability of this controller?
Yeah, absolutely. So the S3c product is our case controller that speaks BACnet and is capable of a lot of things, but it controls the case, control lights, can take in too far away from the mic.
So we can do single evaporator operation, or is it for multiple as well?
Yes, it's got an expansion module. We call it the valve module. So if you need more expansion devices, or if you need to control an EPR, you would add on that what we call our valve module, and then you get more outputs, the ability to control more valves.
Okay, and the full capability of this thing, you can either control it with the superheat with a pulse width expansion valve as well as an EEV, correct?
Yeah, you are correct. It's really up to the end user and the installing contractors what their preference is, but we support both. And we see a lot of adoption of the pulse width technology, so those are definitely supported by the S3c.
So I was looking at some of the valves that you guys have on display here, and you guys do have a pulse width expansion valve that's here. It seems a little bit more robust than what I'm typically used to. I mean, a lot of times they have a plastic strainer on the inside, and these ones they're actually constructed with metal strainer that are reusable. I'm assuming you guys have rebuild kits as well for those valves.
Yeah, you're correct. We do offer a rebuild kit, and it is a robust valve, rated for CO2 type pressures, and it is a valve, a product that we see applied a lot on CO2 systems. I think we do have some samples. You mentioned it's got a steel strainer on the inside, which might be a differentiating factor. And the rebuild kits will include everything you need to take that valve, pull off the enclosing tube, pull off the coil, and rebuild it.
So are they comparable to like the BQ valves where I can actually change that orifice? So let's just say manufacturer installs the wrong size port in there for that expansion valve. Am I able to actually remove the orifice that's in there and rebuild it with the proper one that's in there?
We do have removable orifices that are threaded in. So, orifices can be ordered separately, but, primarily we'd have those installed from the factory. The best case scenario would be to have them installed, correctly, but we understand things happen.
Too many times, right? No, it's a great product. We've dealt with it a lot on a lot of the stores that we deal with. The communication is very robust. The only thing you really have to watch with, and it's not a Sporlan thing, it's a location thing, is just like anything else. These controllers do not like water, so they just need to be far away. But I mean, that's the one of the good things about this, where years ago where you had to run your communication cable, and you also had to run all your sensor wires and the EV and everything else. This way everything is modular right near it, so the only thing you have to run is one communication cable. And you guys use typically from controller to controller, you guys use IP, right? Use internet protocol. And then basically a lot of times I've seen where the primary controller that's connected to the BMS system is basically 485 to that system.
Yeah, so you have the ability to loop your communication back as well if you want to make sure that you don't have a situation where a case could fail and stop the communication to the other cases. So that's exactly right.
Wonderful. No, we've used them. What other projects have you guys been installing? Predominantly, I've seen Sam's Club. I've seen them also be in Walmart here late.
Yeah, we've had multiple end users adopt it. I know we've had projects with Target as well. Mm-hmm. So most supermarkets it's available to them, and we just see that general trend of adoption of case controls. It continues to increase. More people are open to it, like the electronic valves and all the sensors that come with it. They have that ability to monitor a lot more things, because they're going to be electrified already.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did want to talk about, you guys have the availability to also control the anti-sweats based off of a dew point sensor that you guys can install on your case controller, correct?
That's correct. We have an available sensor for that.
Okay, and is there set points in there? Like, what are you trying to maintain? Is there a certain dew point that you're shooting for?
It's really sort of depends on how the customer wants it set up. But yeah, we could control to that specific dew point set point. I don't think it's employed by a lot of customers at this point, but as regulation standards and what people are wanting to follow changes, I think we're going to see a lot more adoption of that. People are now looking at using other methods more commonly than the dew point that they're encountering.
And it's all about, at this point, it's hitting that UL rating, making sure that we can be energy efficient, correct?
Absolutely, and that's what that offers you. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it as things increase, as requirements increase, people are going to be really wanting to monitor their dew point.
One thing I do have to say about the S3c controller, there's a lot of other manufacturers that are out there, and one of the biggest things that Sporlan does extremely well with their control is their PID control. A lot of times I've seen where case controllers end up overshooting superheat, and I'm actually really amazed at how close that we can control that.
Yeah, everybody does it different. Our case controller really tries to optimize the superheat that we see at the cases. Obviously you want to keep from slugging the compressor, but we make sure we can get as low as we can and still keep that keep liquid from return to the compressor.
Well, if you have nothing else about the S3c, I wanted to talk a little bit about expansion valves. Because they're being used, electronic expansion valves are being used more and more on all manufacturers across the board, and a lot of it's due to trying to save as much energy as possible. And what better way to do that with electronic control? Obviously, if we know how superheat's calculated, we have to make sure that the pressure is set correct. We have to make sure that the refrigerant is actually set proper, and we also have to make sure that the temperature sensor for the suction is in the proper location. And that's the first and foremost thing when dealing with any of these controllers, making sure that you know where all these sensors are supposed to be hanging out at.
Absolutely true. I mean, they're very smart valves as long as you set them up for success, but just like anything else, if you don't have the right inputs, it can't give you the right output.
Absolutely. It's I tell my technicians all the time, you give me bad information, you're going to get a bad diagnostic. And the same way with any kind of case controller, if you're giving it where the suction line temperature sensor is on the liquid line, it's really not going to operate well.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you got to select the right sensor. You have to have all the right endpoints. You have to have the controller set to accept those. But as long as you get those details correct, you're going to have the ability to monitor, which you don't have with a mechanical device. You're going to have the ability potentially to remotely monitor, which you also don't have with a mechanical device all the time.
Yeah, having everything programmed, making sure that the pressure transducer is set right in the controller. Really important is making sure that the expansion valve or EPR that you have being controlled from that case controller is programmed correctly. Worst thing you could do is program it incorrectly, and then basically you have erratic superheat, and then B, you could potentially overdrive that valve severely and end up damaging that particular control.
That's true. And sizing any expansion device is important, but some people have the misconception that it's an electronic valve, so it'll really make up for poor sizing. And that's something that it really needs to be done correctly. Size the valve right. Yes, you can operate across a lot of the steps, but it won't be optimal, and you may not like how it performs if it's not sized correctly.
I could agree with that. What I saw some new electronic expansion valves over there. I saw some unipolar stuff.
Yeah, we Sporlan has historically offered wet stator bipolar products, but as the market has moved, we have moved to offer unipolar dry stator valves. We have our OEV product line, which is targeted towards refrigeration to give that unipolar control. It's sized and even named similar to our SER products. So we have the OEV AA through D, and we have the SER products of the same. We have our air conditioning targeted valves as well. So that would be our SEV and our CEV products. So we do have a wide range of dry stator unipolar type products.
So this is a question that I always wondered, like why obviously you make bipolar valves, obviously you make unipolar valves. What makes one better than the other? What makes you to decide that, hey, we're gonna, for this application, like for the CoreSense modules, they use unipolar expansion valves. In supermarket we use predominantly, from my experience, we use the bipolar stepper. So what really makes it that the deciding factor? Is there any positives and negatives of doing either?
Sure. The actual control scheme to want to drive a unipolar versus a bipolar, I don't see as a huge driving factor. So that would be a limiting factor for the controller, just as the controller have that capability.
Yeah.
But historically, it's been the construction of the motor. You have a wet stator motor was something that we always felt was robust for refrigeration. Especially 10, 20 years ago, dry stator motors couldn't always meet the requirements to be in a case environment, to be inside of a refrigerated space, and even to have the cleaning and the food product there. To meet those environmental requirements was tough. So a wet stator valve made sense, and it still does, but we have improved the technology for those dry stator type valves to the point where we in certain cases find it also to be an acceptable alternative. You still have a external coil that moisture can get in between, but the design is robust, and we've tested it and feel that it works in the application. Our SER and our larger wet stator products still are ideal products and ones that I would recommend for the harshest environments, because the motor is really only exposed to the refrigerant versus those dry stators. The inside of between the coil winding and the stator could get moisture in it. But again, we've come a long way in technology.
Is there any can you use the SMA 12 to drive the unipolar, or is there a separate valve driver I'd have to purchase in order to drive that motor?
So no, the SMA 12 is a bipolar driver, and that's a really good point in a product gap. There's a lot of, for Sporlan, bipolar valves out there, which drives the demand for that SMA 12 type of a controller. And as the unipolar valves are adopted, you can definitely expect us to have that on our roadmap to add that functionality. Today, I'd say we don't quite see the applications asking for it, but you're not the first person to ask me about that. So,
well, in residential, they use a bunch of the unipolar motors. So, I mean, it's inevitable that you guys are going to start to have to do something about it, right? In order for the operation, for troubleshooting purposes, right?
You're absolutely right. Residential unipolar is the way to go on residential, it appears. And as that grows, we're going to have to grow with it.
So the other two valves that I'm staring at over there, steel valves with the brass body. You want to talk about that a little bit? I was kind of curious about that. I was going to ask you earlier. You want to school me a little bit on those?
Yeah. So if you're familiar, CO2 is sort of a big deal now. So it's
what's CO2?
Yeah, CO2. I guess it's you don't have to worry about those global warming potentials anymore, right? But no, CO2 has been around for a while, and we saw this first in Europe. That we were seeing transcritical CO2 systems become more common. People were willing to pony up the money to make sure that they were sort of ahead of any of the new regulations. They weren't going to have to worry about what's coming next. And we offer a gas cooler and a flash gas bypass valve. So for any CO2 transcritical system, we have those two products. They're in the larger size ranges. So we have the gas cooler valve, I think, is probably a little bit large in some applications, especially now that we see our typical food retail customers starting to look at converting in a big way. So not only do we have those products in various sizes, but we have more in the works. So that's something that I'm excited to see in the next couple of years, to see more of those type products come out.
So if anyone's ever familiar with the basically the high pressure valve on the gas cooler line coming from, what's referred to as the gas cooler, because it's once it hits that point, 87 degrees, it's transcritical. It's no longer subcritical. So, there's no real measurable subcooling that you can really do. The numbers are really fictitious. So like on most CO2 applications, they basically have either an iPro, CPC iPro, or they have a Danfoss 326. What do you guys have in store for that answer for that?
To control the gas cooler?
Yes, to control the valve.
So that's great. Right now we have a valve positioner. So we would rely on an external control source. It could be a product, a third-party product out there, or it could be a product like a microthermal product. But the valve positioner we use, a PSD4 positioner, would be that take in an analog signal and convert it to drive the valve.
So you'd have to have another brain telling your controller to do the 0 to 10 or 4 to 20 or whatever you guys have set up for your input, and then basically that drives that valve.
That is correct.
What are the steps on that valve? Like typically, like CDS valves, the smaller ones are 2,500 steps, 200 steps per second, 10% overclosure. The bigger ones are usually 6386, 200 steps per second. 10% overclosure, just to ensure it reseats whenever that when it goes to fully close. So I was just curious what the step rate was and that for our listeners.
So that is a great point, and I knew you were going to catch me on something, and that's something that I don't have on the top of my head. So I am here feverishly searching our literature.
All right, well then I'll give you some buffer. So my first day here in Vegas, I was bored, and we ended up going over to walking down the strip and ended up getting a tattoo. Did you find those numbers?
I feel like you just pushed past that, wound up getting a tattoo like really fast. And so what drove you to getting a tattoo here?
I'm trying to finish my arm.
So where's the gas cooler valve on there?
No,
I'm kidding.
No, but my compressor.
Oh, that is really cool.
So my compressor, and then actually right here, that's Carl von Lindy.
Holy
He's
cow.
a German-born engineer. German.
Yeah.
Made it possible for the Guinness Brewery Company to brew beer in the summertime. Irish.
All right. Now
I'm a
I
nerd.
understand.
I'm a nerd.
So how much more has to be done to finish this?
So basically just gonna get color.
You just got to get colors. It'd be any other mainstays on that forearm?
I think I'm fulled up.
I think you are too.
I think I'm fulled up.
Very good. I'm not going to suggest a pin and port, but if you wanted a pin and port on there,
And I thought about getting the Sporlan insignia where it's actually the 2 pins.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone's using Ballon port, so I need something else.
That's a great point. And back to your question, 2,500 steps is what we have on our gas cooler valves. So it gives a little bit quicker transit time than that full 6386 that we have some of our historically larger valves.
Mm-hmm.
And we do offer multiple sizes on the gas cooler valve. It does have that stainless steel body, and when you get to those transcritical pressures, that's the solution for really containing that pressure.
So I've been enjoying myself in Vegas, and I want to say I appreciate you guys inviting me down here. Kevin, if you're listening, funny story about Kevin, if anyone wants to know, he wasn't going to come down here. I think his wife wasn't a fan of him coming down here with me. I don't know why. There could be reasons, but I have no idea. But anyway, so I was talking to him on the way down here, and he's like, "You'll never guess where I'm going." And I took a guess of all the horrible places that he doesn't want to go back to. And so finally he's like, "No, I'm actually coming to Vegas." So he's like 45 minutes away fixing a dumpster fire right now. And I got him a press pass this morning, so I'm hoping he actually comes over and says hello.
I was going to say that's too close to come and not
right
the whole way.
Well, but he's also he said to me, he's like, I want to try to get this all fixed, and I want to try to also visit, but I also don't want to get caught in the airport because he lives in Indiana, and right now they're expected to get feet of snow.
I am right there with him on that concern. We're Sporlan's headquartered in Washington, Missouri, so quite a few of us are wondering what the flight back is going to look like, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
If there is one.
If there is one. I know my wife called me right before this and said, "What are you doing?" At the trade show. I don't know when I'm coming home.
It's 67 and sunny, and she's like, it's negative something.
Get back here so you can freeze. I don't know.
Well, Matt, I appreciate your time.
Right.
And it was an interesting conversation. I appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate it. Same to you. And hopefully we can have a couple more great days like this one.
Absolutely. And hey, guys, swing by, enter to win a Zoom Lock Press. They also have a, play the Cool Zone trivia game. Where basically you answer some of the questions, you get enough questions right, and they get you a free mug. Come on by, booth number C2518. Come on by and visit. I'll be here until about 6 o'clock. Have a good one, guys.
Today's episode is sponsored by the new Refrigeration differential pressure monitor from Ahr Industries. When the filter element of your coalescing oil separator is contaminated, it can hurt your system's performance and efficiency. But how do you know when it's time to replace that filter? Way too long to replace, and you could end up with a nasty filter blowout. But replacing too often can be a waste of time and money. The answer is installing a differential pressure monitor. The new Refrigeration RDP01 differential pressure monitor is available now from Ahr Industries. To find out more information, email sales@westmeyerind.com. That's sales@westmeyerind.com.
How we doing, everybody? We're live from the Ahr Expo. It's Vegas, Nevada. We're here at the Parker Sporlan booth, booth 2518. Come visit us, and you can enter to win a Zoom Lock Press Pro Press fitting, the tool. Today we are with Dennis from Sporlan, and he's going to go through some of the training. They have the green. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm going to butcher this. Skills.
Skills.
Thank you. And personal development is really important. So, Sporlan puts this out for you guys to be able to see some of the new technology and get some troubleshooting ideas with some of the stuff that they put out there. So fortunately enough for us, Dennis is going to go through some of the stuff that they have out there. Take it away.
All right, super. Thank you, Brett. If you go to Sporlan.com, if you go to the homepage, if you scroll down, there's a section called HVACR Training and Learning. If you click on that section, that's going to open up another page. And then that's where you're going to find some of our training that we currently have. So we have a website set up that has all of our advanced supermarket training webinars that we've done with Jim Jansen and who was his partner? I can't think of his partner.
I'm at a loss.
Oh, John Whithouse. Sorry, John. So, anyway, we have about probably 30 videos, so you can access all those webinars on that page, right from the homepage of Sporlan.com. We also have a specialist training button. You click that button, and then that's going to take you to our Chill Skills platform. It's a Moodle-based platform. We're currently in the process of upgrading our training program, and we're moving over to a new LearnDash platform. So that's in the makings right now. But if you go to our Chill Skills platform, it's sporlantraining.com if you want to go there directly, or you can click it via the links on sporlan.com. There in specialist training, we go over many different aspects from basic all the way to advanced. So we talk about solenoid valves, TEVs, contaminant controls. You take that training and you can get a certificate at the end. So it's great for people, that want to brush up on their skills or, learn about something new. We also have a wholesaler training program. Within that training program, it's a little more advanced. We cover different aspects such as, let me find it here. So we cover the refrigerant distributors, pressure regulating valves, electric valves, oil level controls. So it covers a lot more stuff than just the specialist training, but it covers a lot of information that would, help people in their careers.
And some of the stuff you guys do, you guys have certification programs where basically you go through the training and you get some sort of certification. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So at the end of the Chill Skills training, there's a quiz. So after each one of these modules, they would take the quiz, and then you'd have a little certificate that you can print out, frame, whatever you want to do.
And you guys are in the process of doing some of the newer technology you guys are putting out, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we do have a module on Chill Skills training for the S3c.
Yep,
So
I've been through that.
Yep, there's training out there for that as well. And then we're in the process, when we switch over to the new platform, we're going to start taking some of the webinars that we have. We're going to make quizzes for those webinars.
Okay.
So that way we can have a certificate for the new training. So
the CRC stuff, you guys are working on that as well?
We're working on that as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
correct.
Awesome.
And then the webinars, another good resource is going to Sporlan Video on our YouTube channel. And then if you go out there, we have all of our supermarket seminar webinars posted there. So it used to be training that we would do for Hussman, different people that we would do in-person training. Well, since COVID hit, so we've done webinars the past 2 years.
Absolutely.
So we decided, hey, you know what? We'll just put it out on our YouTube channel so that everybody has a chance to get that same training that those people get. We also use that for our internal people.
Oh, okay.
So people that we hire, right out of college, right out of school, they go through that training. So they're watching the same webinars that we have available on our YouTube channel.
And Jim Jensen is still runs that
He's
program?
still running the program.
Okay,
Yeah, so
wonderful.
I'll be working closely with Jim, working on the quizzes, getting that set up. And then I'm going to be doing the website for the new training platform.
Man, I have to ask, just this is a personal thing. So I took the test for the S3c. And oh my goodness, did you guys change? Because I thought that you had to get one wrong out of the whole thing. Did you guys change that? Because it took me.
We did. So
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
then
I do.
I mean,
we've had complaints.
The test was real in depth. Man.
It is. It's very in depth. So if you're going to take the S3c training, you're going to have to pay attention, take notes. The test at the end, I think, consists of 50 questions, or maybe it's 30. I think it's 30. Out of those 30 questions, I think we did lower it that you can miss 3 or 4.
Yeah, I just remember having I was screenshotting. I'm like, okay, I got to remember this. I'm going to screenshot this. Oh wait, I got that one wrong. I'm going to do that one. So I mean, I'm not there's so much information, and the questions are extremely good and really, really specific, which is awesome. Right. But it just took me a while to pass.
Yes, and you're not the only one. So
that's awesome.
I would have to pull reports so we can see, how many people are not passing it. So that's, I think, when we made the change that they can miss a couple more.
Yeah.
Otherwise, nobody was going to get that certificate.
I'm done with it. I'm not doing it anymore.
Exactly.
What else? So what else do you have? So you said with the new CRC controller, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anything on the new CO2 valves that you guys are doing?
That, because I'm not a product manager,
Oh,
I
okay.
can't really address, technical things. Matt Wood would probably be the man that you'd want to talk to on that.
Matt, we're going to need something for the chill skills for the new CO2 valves that you guys are doing. Yeah,
And we can probably do that.
yeah, we're going to have that. We're going to have that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that you guys are doing for training and helping to better the better everyone out there?
Well, we're going to continue the webinar program, so we're working on new content that we'll be doing throughout this year.
Okay.
So I think we're going to have some scheduled. If anybody wants to be on our email list, you can sign up on Sporlan.com. At the bottom of the page, there is a button that you can sign up, so you get notifications when we do these webinars. So that you're aware when we have a webinar coming up. You can sign up for it. You can watch the webinar live. You have the ability to ask questions during those live webinars. But if you can't attend the webinar live, then about a week later, we post it to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And then you can always view it on Sporlan video.
Yeah, and a lot of times they leave the questions in there, which is awesome because there might be some oddball thing that wasn't covered in the training, but hey, it was just a really good question to leave in there.
Right. And then also, if you're ever watching one of our videos, regardless if it's training or about a product, you can always post questions in there. I monitor all those questions that people post on those videos. So we keep those comments open so that people can ask us questions. I can get to the appropriate product manager or subject matter expert to be able to answer the question if I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah, and not just that, but a lot of times you guys, like when I took the S3c, I ended up getting, I think, 2 or 3 different videos that now I actually utilize for training,
Right.
for my guys at Wholesaler, so they can go through any of the trainings that I've actually been through.
Right. Exactly.
Dennis, I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I think that's it. Just make sure you go out to Sporlan.com. You can access all our training via there. If you have time, if you have YouTube, make sure you check out Sporlan video, subscribe there so you get notifications when we post out new videos there. So I appreciate the talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, if you guys are at the expo, come see me. I'll be here till about 5:30 today. If not, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back again from the Ahr Expo out in sunny Las Vegas. We're at Sporlan booth C2818, so come visit us for some free giveaways. We're going to talk about system contamination with Dave Thomas, not the one from Wendy's. This one is from Sporlan. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here for Sporlan.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brett. If you want some free Frosties, let me know. I know a guy, but yeah, my name's David Thomas. I started my career at Sporlan in sales. I was a sales engineer in Chicago, covered 4 states, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. So had some great experience in the wholesale aftermarket, calling on contractors, engineers, wholesalers, etc. And now I am a product manager for contaminant controls.
What does that mean?
So contaminant controls is really...
Hey, ladies, come on over. Come on, we're doing some giveaways. Come on over. Free Zoom lock press if you actually enter to win. Come on over.
Brett's hitting on some ladies.
I'm not. If my wife is listening, I'm not. How we doing, ladies? So you want to talk to this man right here about registering, and we'll get you all set up.
He can scan your badge.
Sorry, ADHD got distracted. Continue, Mr. Thomas.
No, that's all right. Yeah, so contaminant controls is anything that controls contaminants in a refrigeration and air conditioning system.
So what is your feeling on dye? I have a very hated relationship with dye. And some people think it belongs in systems. I truly believe the only thing that belongs in system is refrigeration and oil.
Right. Yep, exactly. So that's kind of the Sporlan MO, is that the only thing that should be in a refrigeration system is refrigerant and oil. So anything else we would deem contaminant. So dyes, I see the need. Are you talking specifically about leak detection or?
Yeah, and like I said, regardless it's for leak detection or not, I just don't think it has any place in there. It causes, I think, more blockages and more things than, not bad for the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can cause, acids, if it causes a particular burnout.
Sure.
I don't agree with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. It also reduces the efficiency of the system too, because when you're going across a heat exchanger, we want to make sure that there's refrigerant in the system, and in that heat exchanger, saturated refrigerant, not anything else, not moisture, not acid, not dyes, whatever. So
yeah, and Sporlan has a whole bunch of different things that as far as filtration to actually clean up the systems. You have a gambit of different types of filter dryers. You also have a gambit of different screens that you can put in systems.
Yep.
And they also have lower micron filters. You want to talk a little bit about those that go in the liquid cores?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that I think you're referencing is the optional secondary filter. So traditionally we have a replaceable shell for large systems, specifically supermarket racks typically. And in those shells, we can either put cores, which are the RCA 48 or 100, but I'll just reference 48 size. So RCA, the A stands for acid, so it has more activated alumina to catch the acid in the system. Then we have an RCW. The W stands for water, so it has more molecular sieve in the core, so it, again, retains more moisture, more water. And then we also have the RC4864-HH, and that is that has activated carbon or activated charcoal in that core, and that helps after a burnout when there's high moisture high wax and sludge in the system. That helps with that application. And then in the liquid line, we also have a optional secondary filter, which is a nominal, I believe, 20 micron filter. You can place in the liquid line, replaceable shell, and it filters down a lot of solid particulates.
So what do you guys have to do to combat with wax? Because like when you end up having a waxy system due to like whatever it be, let's just say you had a couple brownouts, which then ended up putting debris in there, which ended up turning into wax. What do you have to combat it? Because sometimes it will cover any kind of component, whether it be check valves, and cause them not to stick properly.
Sure.
What would you do in order to kind of try to clear out some of that stuff, other than just keep changing the filter dryers, keep changing the separator, keep install suction cores, just for the time being on a commercial supermarket rack? I mean, what else would you want to do?
Yeah, so we have a whole cleanup process. So we have a bulletin that addresses the entire process. I'll just call out a couple of highlights here. So first is, definitely want to put in some HH cores that has the activated charcoal or activated carbon. That's going to help out a ton. So we typically say run that through the system for 24 to 48 hours, somewhere around there, and then change it out with cores, standard cores, once you're getting to a appropriate acid level. And the way you check that acid is by using a TA-1 oil acid test kit. So use that, and once you see that it's not turning colors from high acid content, then you've done a successful cleanup.
So one of the questions that just came up there: how soon should the cores be changed after first change? If you're asking me, basically after a pressure drop, when you start getting that pressure drop, I would recommend going with maybe a smaller micron screen, as well as actually putting in the screen that actually goes over the center core of the actual Sporlan filter dryer. It provides so much more protection, absorbing that debris. Because what could potentially happen, it could basically go in the bypass where it gets too big of a pressure drop and then opens up. This way, if you're right on top of it, go back the next day, you're right on top of it, and you're making sure you're getting a proper clean out. So, basically when you start getting a pressure drop, that's when I recommend that you start, changing that stuff out.
You're spot on, Brett. Yeah, I want to reinforce something that you said. So, Alex, good question. So one is when you're talking about pressure drop, for a standard filter dryer, we definitely want to see anything less than 5 PSI. When it gets to 5 PSI or greater, that is a major concern.
Yeah.
And we definitely want to change out that filter dryer. Another thing to keep in mind is when you are doing a cleanup process, we do have kind of a higher acceptable range of pressure drop. But once you're seeing 8 to 10 PSI pressure drop across those HH cores, that's when we would want to change out the cores. And typically that takes, depending on the severity of the burnout, typically that takes between 24 and 72 hours.
When talking about burnouts, one of the things that you do want to be aware is, really what that desiccant is doing. Desiccant, if anyone doesn't know, like when you get a new pair of shoes, desiccant is actually what's in that little package they tell you not to eat.
True.
And what that's actually doing is it's absorbing moisture, and it's, they use it for, a multitude of different things. If anyone's ever worked on a Munters unit, it has a desiccant wheel. So what is that doing? It's actually absorbing the moisture. Desiccant can be, regenerated, basically utilizing heat. That's why really liquid dryers, if I'm not mistaken, are not recommended for, discharge lines for two reasons. One, sometimes they'll get pulverized where they actually end up putting more debris in the system. And two, if they are collecting moisture, basically when you reheat that, you're releasing that moisture from that filter dryer. So it's really not doing anything. So if you have to, maybe you have a hot gas line that's basically, causing, debris in some of the auxiliary side port connectors for your hot gas, really recommend that you use some kind of element style, like a suction filter style, to make sure that you're not putting that stuff back in the system and you're not pulverizing it, right?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Yeah, and then something else that you mentioned silica gel. That's what's the little packets that come in your shoes that you're not supposed to eat. So we actually, our first generation filter dryers back in the 40s and 50s used that as a desiccant, like you just mentioned. We used silica gel as desiccant. Now we use, molecular sieve, activated alumina, activated charcoal, things of that nature. So it's just ironic that, you mentioned that. So.
Well, we got another question up here. Liquid line dryer in the refrigerated case. Do you need to change them every single time upon opening the system?
Yes.
You heard it first. I mean, if the system becomes depressurized, where you actually have air in the system, highly recommended that you do it. If you remember, if we don't have any type of air in the system, if you're actually opening up and basically you're in a negative pressure or zero psi. Yes, absolutely. Because any kind of moisture, especially with now, most refrigerant systems, they're using polyester oil, which is highly hydroscopic. So very recommended that we do change it out.
No, spot on.
Any other system kind of contamination components that you guys utilize? I know you guys have two different style oil filters that you guys currently have. Usually the 303T. Yep. And you have the element number. It's like an OLE1 or something like that.
Yeah, OFE-1.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the OF303, we have that in the flare connections, and then we also have it in the -T model, which uses a pressure tap. And that pressure tap is not for you to put your gauges on it specifically to get pressure. It's actually as an oil drain. So you're supposed to install that upside down so that you have an access port for draining oil in an oil system. And then we also do actually have the BP, I believe, -BP, which stands for bypass.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it's an optional bypass feature. So once it gets to a certain PSI, I don't know off the top of my head, but once it gets to a certain PSI, it starts bypassing the oil past the filter to prevent pressure drop. Now, that's kind of double-edged sword. We don't want pressure drop, but at the same time we also want to be collecting those contaminants. So and then that 303 is a 3-micron nominal 3-micron oil filter, so it is highly effective and efficient in oil systems.
So one of the things I would highly recommend when doing any kind of oil system, any kind of oil filter typically should be on the discharge line coming off the oil separator, going into, like if it's a low pressure system, you want it after the oil separator going into the reservoir. The reason why you want that is because if you have a 5-pound differential because of, debris in the system, you're more likely to have more problems if it's on the outlet side of your reservoir, because basically that pressure is now stepped down. Remember, we talked about this multiple times on multiple podcasts where we have to make sure we step down the pressure. We start with the receiver, for the oil separator, which might be at 200 PSI, then get stepped down to, basically utilizing the OCV, which knocks it down usually 20 or 30 pounds heavier than what your actual suction is. And then after that, we go into the compressor. So having a 20-pound differential from going from 200 down to like 70 is less likely to cause a problem than if you would have a 20-pound drop across it, like after it's actually coming out. So my recommendation, I don't know what Sporlan's going to tell me. They could tell me that I'm wrong, but I like to see it right on the inlet of the actual of the oil reservoir, right after the oil separator.
No, you're bringing some great points up, Brett. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I'm just
Simple
man,
enough.
you're the man. You know about system contamination more than I do. So I'm holding up to you.
We'll see about that.
So, but no, man, I appreciate you coming on for the live stream. Anyone else has any more questions, hit me up. I'll be here all day next week. Oh, I'm sorry, all day tomorrow. And I'll be hanging out at AHR and hope to see you guys there. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks.